The movie begins in a home in the woods, where a girl named Eva is dancing like an angel. This occurs in a futuristic time because the gadgets used throughout the home are much different from what is available in present technology. In another part of the house, Eva's sister Nell is practicing for her exams on her computer, while her dad Robert is watching the news. The reporter mentions how power outages have been happening all over the country. Suddenly, the power in the house goes out, which affects Eva's sound system and Nell's computer. They complain to their dad, who tells them to endure. He informs them they're out of gas and they'll go to the town tomorrow to get some, and he mentions that the inverter he ordered hasn't arrived. Nell steps out to get a torch from the car. She closes the boot door, but it opens again without her realizing because it seems the lock is bad. The next morning, they all come to the car to find out the battery has drained out because the lights have been on. Robert goes to get his extra battery, but the car still doesn't respond. Nell turns on the radio, and the reporter talks about how the power outage was due to a countrywide grid failure, which is rumored to have been due to a terrorist attack. After they give up on moving the car, they head back inside. That night, the radio mysteriously stops picking up signals from the news channels. Nell goes to speak to her dad about how she's worried she may fail her exams since she doesn't have access to her computers. But her dad tells her that he believes in her ability to make something out of books. 10 days later, Robert has an epiphany and calls the girls outside. He uses the chain on his chainsaw to move the coil that charges the battery. It works, and the family excitedly leaves for town. When they get into town, the entire place looks like My Tinder matches, empty. They go to their favorite store, and the owner Stan points a gun at them out of fear that they've come to rob the store like some other rascals had attempted to. Stan explains that such tense times bring out the worst in people. This reminds me of huge cities in the USA. When Robert clears the air, he and Stan exchange pleasantries. Stan explains that there's no gas in the city, but he sells some of his last stash to Robert and gives them some candles for free along with some other stuff to do old times' sake. When Robert drives his family into the town, he goes to a gas station which turns out to be closed down too. Some dangerous-looking bikers crowd the station, so Robert drives away. Honestly, they're probably just gay bears. Robert goes to the pub to see an old friend while Nell goes to see her friend Eli, and Eva goes to dance practice. Robert tells Nell he loves her as he watches her leave. Love me some foreshadowing. Nell goes to meet Eli, who is currently having a bonfire party with some of his friends. Nell walks up to Eli and makes out with him. Couples who do this are sometimes insufferable. They both start to have fun and drink. After a few hours, Nell gets tipsy and trips. Robert and Eva soon come to pick her up so they can head home. While they drive home, the family sings together. Nell notices Eva isn't too happy and asks her what is wrong. Eva reveals that she hasn't been doing too well at her dance practice because of her recent knee injury. As they drive, they run into some other people who seem to be having problems with their car. Robert steps down to lend them a hand, but they pull out a rifle. When Robert realizes they seem to be robbing the car, he quickly gets back into his car and drives his family home. Moral of the story: never lend people a hand, otherwise you could lose that hand. The next morning, while they have breakfast, Robert announces that they won't be going into town till the power is fixed, and this gets Nell angry. She leaves the table and protestingly asks Robert why he's the one to decide. Probably because he's the father. Eva realizes it's because of how dangerous things have gotten, so she tells him Nell doesn't mean what she said. Later, Robert and Nell all go out to cut some wood, while Eva practices her dancing. Robert tries to speak to Nell again, but he leaves to cut a tree with his chainsaw when he realizes she's still displaying teenage angst. While Robert is cutting the tree, he mistakenly slips and lets out a scream. The two girls rush to the scene to find Robert bleeding from a deep cut in his stomach. The girls try to cover up the wound, but he tells them to take care of themselves and he dies. The girls try to resuscitate him to no avail. They both lie there with Robert's dead body till the next morning. The next morning, they dig a hole until their hands start to blister to bury him. When they finish, they create a bed of pillows in the living room and both lay there crying. This continues for days while the two girls mourn Robert's death and try to comfort themselves. 2 months later, with no power, the energy in the house still seems low. One day, Nell boils some eggs and invites Eva to come eat, but Eva refuses. Nell eats the eggs alone with tears in her eyes. It probably just tastes bad. I prefer hard-boiled myself. Later, Eva picks herself up and returns to her dancing room. She goes to meet Nell and suggests that they fill the generator with some of the gas so they can have fun with a little music and watch videos of their dead parents. But Nell refuses because they need it for the car in case they need to go into town. When Nell insists, Eva goes into her room and puts up curtains so she can be alone. This continues for days. One day, Nell goes to get some eggs from their chickens, but finds out that some animal has killed them. She goes to tell Eva, but Eva doesn't come out of her room. Eventually, Eva comes out and Nell apologizes. She tells Eva she understands her. Eva tells her she doesn't, but their mother would have if she were here. Ouch! That night, Nell has a nightmare where she wakes up but doesn't find Eva by her side, and she runs into the woods to find her dad being attacked. She wakes up agitated, but Eva hugs her and assures her she will never leave her. Soon enough, their roof starts to leak when it rains. During this time, Nell continues her studying, hoping one day she'll still get to write her exams. That night, Nell finds an old stash of candy that her dad must have left. She eats the chocolate and experiences waves of pleasure. Moral of the story: chocolate can cause orgasms. Eva walks in and tells Nell she can't keep dancing to her metronome, which is a tool that produces a beat to dance to but doesn't count as music. Nell tries to calm her down by giving her some of the candy, but Eva gets angry that Nell had eaten the chocolate without her. As they argue, they hear a noise in the house and pick up the gun to investigate. As they look around while trembling, they run into Eli. Maybe he's there to deliver the pizza they ordered 2 months ago. Eli learns of Robert's death, and he tells them he journeyed there for 5 days after his bike broke down to see Nell since they've not been in town for months. They offer him some food, and he tells them things have gotten worse in town since there's no gas, phone, internet, or anything. How the heck would I watch my daily dose of TikToks? The next day, Eli and Nell find their way into the woods to have some raunchy fun. They find a small cave and make love. That night, Eli plays the harmonica, but Eva just walks away after a while. Eli wonders if he said something to annoy her, but Nell tells him she went to practice her dancing. Eli wonders why she still practices when everything is going to hell, but Nell tells him they can't give up. The next morning, Eva casually asks Nell when Eli will be leaving since he's a fat ass eating their low food supplies. Nell asks Eva why she doesn't like Eli, but Eva only tells her not to get pregnant because they can't handle that right now. The next day, after an intimate moment, Eli tells Nell that a few of them hear that electricity and civilization are being restored in Boston, and he asked her to follow him there. She asks him why he didn't say anything until now, and he tells her he wanted to be sure she is the one for him. The next morning, they break the news to Eva, who refuses because they don't know what is out there, and the journey will take several months on foot. Eli insists that it's not fair to Nell, and Eva tells Nell to make her own decision. Shortly after, Nell tries to convince Eva to come with them, but Eva only bids her farewell and tells her she'll always be her sister. They soon leave, and Eva watches them with tears in her eyes. When they leave, Eva goes to practice her dancing, but she gets so angry that she smashes her metronome. That night, Eli and Nell decide to stop to rest and continue the next day. The next morning, Nell is homesick, tells Eli she has to go back because she can't leave Eva. Eli accepts his fate and gives Nell a goodbye kiss after telling her he loves her. Nell rushes home to hug Eva. After 6 months with no power, the house seems to be getting into worse shape day by day. The girls decide to learn about plants from the books in the house, so they go into the woods to pick out some edible berries to make some wine. Probably best to plant some marijuana too. Eventually, Nell discovers it's her time of the month and is relieved she isn't getting pregnant. She goes to Eva with some of Robert's good wine to celebrate the good news. The girls have some fun that night and decide to load up the generator with gasoline to watch some videos of their parents. When they turn on the generator, they try to get a signal but realize there's still no internet. They make popcorn and watch videos they recorded with their deceased parents. For the first time in a while, Eva hears some music and is able to practice her dancing properly. That night, Nell goes to hide some gasoline while Eva's sleeping, so they don't blow through their stash. The next morning, Nell goes to pick some berries in the woods while Eva splits some wood. Suddenly, Stan approaches Eva and tells her he decided to swing by because he was close by. Eva lies that Robert is around just to scare him off, but he doesn't seem to buy it. Stan, who is acting a little off, decides to wait for Robert. Stan waits for the perfect moment and jumps on Eva, disarming her of the axe. He proceeds to have his way with her, and he leaves her shaking on the ground. He goes to take the gasoline keg, and he drives the car away. When Nell approaches the house, she rushes when she hears Eva's wailing and runs to help her. She gets there and picks up the axe, threatening to kill an assailant she can't see. Nell takes Eva in to clean her up and gives her some aspirin. When Nell tries to touch her, Eva suddenly withdraws out of fear. That night, Nell holds the gun while Eva lies down. Over time, Nell continues to build wooden barricades around the house. She keeps guarding Eva with the gun every day and tries to offer her food, but Eva keeps refusing to eat. Days later, Nell decides to fill up the generator from her secret storage to lighten up the mood. But Eva doesn't care for music. After 8 months with no power, they're almost left with no food, and what they have starts to rot. While searching, Nell finds a wrap paper with the words pumpkin, which is the pet name Robert used to call Nell. The girls start to wonder if Robert left them a note just in case something happened. Nell suggests that they make it special, so they go outside to read it. They open the wrap paper to find actual pumpkin seeds, and this dulls their spirits more than before. Days later, Nell hurts her back while doing some farming. Eva, who is scared of going outside, pulls herself together to carry Nell inside. When she brings her inside, Eva attempts to massage Nell's back. Eva suddenly starts to weep, and Nell asks her what's wrong. Eva confesses that she always gets so scared these days, and she gets black waves of fear that aren't going away no matter how much she tries to fight it. Nell just holds her and promises to stay with her. Days later, Eva decides to eat better. Soon enough, Eva starts to get nauseous, and they realize she must be pregnant. Nell secretly reads some books about abortions, but Eva reads her mind and tells her she wants to keep the baby. Eva explains that what happened to her wasn't the child's fault and she's not ready to lose another person. 15 months without power, and Eva's baby bump is showing. The bad part is that Eva starts to become pale, and Nell reads that it's because she lacks a mineral that comes from animal meat. Nell decides to climb a tree to hopefully kill a wild pig or stand. She dozes off, but eventually spots one. She shoots at it, but the recoil from her shot knocks her off the tree. Determined, Nell picks herself up and chases the pig, literally begging it to die because she needs its meat to save her sister. When she successfully kills it, she skins it from some instructions she learned from a book and uses salt to preserve some of its meat. After Nell and Eva cook some of the meat, Eva eats it up and enjoys it. Vegan teacher would be disappointed. Days later, Eva and Nell talk about the child's gender. Nell believes it'll be a boy, but Eva believes it's a girl, so they make a bet. Gender reveal parties. This is ironic. One day, while having dinner, Eva detects the smell of smoke and starts to suspect that someone is starting a fire nearby. Eva becomes afraid that Stan has returned, but Nell assures her he hasn't. Later, when they go to sleep, they hear a noise in the house, so Nell goes to grab the gun. They go to investigate, but discover that the noise came from a beam that had fallen due to the rain and was wearing away. Out of the blue, Eva starts to have contractions, and it seems the baby is coming. Nell goes to grab her books and reads about how long it takes to give birth. When Nell realizes it's taking too long, she makes Eva walk around until they get to a cave where they set up all they need for the childbirth process. When they get in, Eva's water soon breaks and Nell makes her start to push. After a few pushes, a strong baby boy emerges into the world. Eva starts to cry tears of joy, and she promises the child to love him forever. The women soon find their way home with their new baby. When they get inside, they realize the rain has messed the whole place up and beams have fallen down. Eva steps outside with the baby and hands him to Nell. Eva goes inside and attempts to burn down the house, but Nell stops her. Eva explains that the house is rotting and too toxic for the baby since they're unable to fix it. After some persistence, Nell agrees, so they decide to get the food and other important things before they leave. Nell goes to pick up old pictures of her family, among other things. After they pour gasoline into the house, they all step out in the rain, and Nell returns to light the fire. The house soon becomes ablaze as the family watches it burn nearby. They soon pick up their stuff and begin their journey into the unknown. That gasoline could have come in handy. Well, that's the end of the movie. What did y'all think of this one?
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.